So thank you so much for clicking and finding out this video. Hello everybody. So anyway, so last night just finished this wonderful book. I done this book series before. It's been I feel like almost 2 years since one of my most popular videos as of right now. Yeah, and then like after I finished reading this book, you know what? I want to do a book cover book review since I haven't done a book session in so long. I'm gonna be doing a book review of The Land, oh no, not The Land of Story, I meant A Tale of Magic by Colfer. I love this author, and this is the prequel to the book series of The Land of Stories. And before I get to this review, like I'm not gonna spoil any. This is a spoiler-free book review, no spoilers. I'm gonna ask this question whether or not you should read The Land of Story before reading this freaking prequel. That's why sometimes prequels are like, oh, maybe I should watch the original story first before I get started with it. But good news, it's kind of mixed, but like good news, you don't really have to go into The Land of Story before reading, so you can just read this right away. That's what the thing is, author, when you read a prequel, it's supposed to be like its own story where you don't need to go to the original story if you want. For me personally, I would recommend reading The Land of Story first before checking this out, because it has lots of like reference from the first one. But hey, if you find this cover pretty gorgeous and you don't really like care about the first one, you're not really sure, but you find this cover, it's not a bad idea. Like there's no harm with starting this one first, unless that would be pretty interesting. I personally recommend you should start reading The Land of Story first before you get right into it, so you'll be like, oh, it's stuff. But like at the end of the day, it's up to you. There's no harm with starting this one first before reading the book series that's first started. So anyway, so my answer is yes. I strongly recommend first starting reading The Land of Story, but you don't have to, and this is an option. You can just get right into it. So anyway, this book cover is
gorgeous. Look how gorgeous it is. Like this one, it's like the same as Land of Story, but what's gorgeous about it is when you open it. See this? Look how gorgeous it is. Like it's pretty beautiful. It's like the most one of my favorite book covers I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like so beautiful. I mean, there's some other book covers that's just like so beautiful. Like
lots of books do this a lot. I just love colors, and I love, as you can tell, I really like fairy tales. Like fairy tales is like my jam, and I grew up with fairy tales, and I just love fairy tales. So this is the book, and so before we get started, I think I should tell you what the plot is. The plot of the book is basically about they live in a land where magic is basically like bad. Like you're not allowed to use magic because like discrimination and stuff, until this main character, her name is Bristol, sorry if I pronounced her name, Bristol. Bristol, when she went to the library, she discovered like a secret book about like magic, and then she caused, you know, trouble and stuff, until like a fairy called what's her name again, Madame Weatherberry, when she first discovered her, and then they take her into this magical school called Magic Academy, which is kind of like X-Men kind of, and then something weird happens to the professor, like the founder of the school, and it's up to her and her classmates to find her, and you know, every adventure has some consequences and some changes, like every story. That's basically the book. It's like an adventure story, it's like an origin story kind of. And so yeah, I feel like the writing of this book is, I feel like the author like did like a draw, and he did like a draw of like theming, and the theming that he found, the theme is like his guidance of writing the stories. I feel like the theming of this book is pretty strong, especially this is like a middle school kid book, and it's pretty so the theming is basically, one of them is like discrimination, being racism of course, but for magic and stuff, and it's about like being having the freedom to embrace who you are, which sometimes it's not accepted to society. So this is what this book is basically about. Like the theming is pretty like very like obvious. If you read the summary of this book, it's pretty obvious, and the theming is so freaking like strong, where like to the point where it does become like a little bit of like slow pacing reading. Like the theming is pretty strong, but like when I read this book, it's pretty like very slow, but in a good way. It's on like a slow burn and stuff. It's like, oh, it's pretty slow. I love the details that this book, that's what I love about books. They have like so many details, unlike in movies where it's just sometimes it's fast paced, but this one I can really tell like he took his time to write this book. It's not like fast paced like Rush. It's not like you're watching Avengers Endgame, which is pretty like fast paced, but pretty like slow paced, but like you get right into it. It's like worth it at the end kind of, in my yeah, some of the chapters are pretty like hard hard to get through, especially with the hard theming, like especially the first few chapters. The main character, it's so, for me personally, it was hard for me to witness like what she went through, and it's just pretty hard to get through. You'll understand once you read this book, just a trigger warning, and so I make you angry, but again, it's a fairy tale, so it's all worth it at the end. So yeah, and then I love the twist with the villain. The villain is pretty like, whoa, like I didn't, like I kind of see that coming, but kind of not. It's like, oh, I see what they're doing there and stuff. And again, it comes back to the message again with the about who you should believe. It's about like good and stuff. And yeah, it's hard to do without no spoilers. And I like how at the end, once I finish reading this book, it all ties back to the Land of Story, like the first book series and stuff, and oh, it makes so much sense. And it's also like an origin story of like I think you can say it's like the origins. It's not origin story, one of the main characters in the Land of Story, and it's like another Easter egg. It made me so happy with the reference they put through in the book. It's like, oh, it's nice to like see where that character like came from. And yeah, wonderful to see everything tied back from the first book, from the book series that it was kind of based on. It's like a prequel kind of. And so at the end of the day, this is its own story, like, and I'm can't wait to see the next like book too, which he just announced like a few days ago, which I'm looking forward to reading, a witchcraft. And I'm so excited to see what we learn more about like the world and stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing when the fairy tales all start to come in, since the Land of Story is like a fairy tale land. I kind of wait for it to tie back together when they start bringing all the Land of Stories. And what's amazing about this book, also forgot to mention, of course, it has like a beautiful map. It's like all right here. How beautiful this map is. And then sometimes I look at this once in a while reading, it's like, oh, this is where we are, and it's interesting. This is how the Land of Story looks like before. Now it's known as stuff. So yeah, then is it worth it? I think it's for sure worth it if you're a very Land of Story stan. You should definitely read this book. But if you are just a general reader, if you like fairy tales and you love gorgeous book cover, I would recommend checking out this book. Even though it's titled as a kid's book, but it still has like adult theming and stuff. Sometimes it's nice to hear like those themings that kids are teaching. It's even though like around like young adults now ish. But it's nice to see, it's nice to remind yourself with those types of like message once in a while. And it's like uplifting. It's a great, like, I call it like vacation right away to get out of like the reality of the world. And it's like commentary of like what our society's right now. So yeah, so my rating of this book, I would say it's 4 out of 5. I would make this like a 5 if they add in like the fairy tale stuff. But again, I feel like it's gonna be like a book series. I don't know how many books that this book is gonna be. So hope you guys enjoyed this book session review. If you do like this, let me know in the comments down below what you think of this book. What are you looking forward to on the second one? And please comment down if you want to see anything with spoilers. Make sure you put, the disclaimer that it's spoilers and stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thank you for, okay, bye. Woo. Yay. Well, that is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I liked the video. My messy hair. I think I look beautiful. But anyway, oh wait, that's it? Okay.